How's it going, everybody? I'd like to take just a couple of minutes of your time and give a quick thanks for watching video. This is going to basically cover just what's been going on lately, where I'm at with my studies, and what you can be expecting in the next couple of weeks and over the probably through the end of the summer, so the end of August. So I got a game plan for the next 6 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks that I wanted to give you a quick flyby review of what we got going on and stuff like that. Um, from a study perspective, I have gone through my own EIGRP training. So EIGRP for IPv4, and I'm almost done recording that. I've got about 4 or 5 more videos to go over. Obviously, the more complicated stuff that's going to be pretty wide span is like summarization and stub routing and some of the advanced things like EIGRP over DMVPN, things like that. Those topics are going to take a little bit more time to record because there's a lot more depth to the topic. So we're going to be taking a look at those in the near future. Once I get done with all the EIGRP videos, I will be uploading those hopefully within the next week. In addition to all the other videos that I've recorded for EIGRP. The one benefit to EIGRP is it's not quite as big as a scope as OSPF, and I'm currently going through OSPF videos right now and deep diving through them. And at the same point in time, the one thing that I'm doing is I'm going through Internetwork Expert's workbook, so I can see exactly how they're implementing things. I'm reading the configuration guides and then the informational RFCs for all the topics. So in addition to INE videos and their workbook, I'm also doing the RFC informational, which is for if you were to Google the EIGRP was it the Draft Savage, I believe it is what it's referred to. That's a AFT Savage. I think it's 00 is what the revision numbers it's on now. Savage being Donnie Savage, the guy that actually wrote EIGRP. So that's what I'm working on right now. Actually recording and running through some of the workbooks. Basically, and as I go through these workbooks and I'm starting to go through some different configuration options and stuff like that, and I'm testing different theories and stuff like that. Everything that I'm recording right now is pretty much core to just get EIGRP up and running and for some scalability. Now, the reconversion stuff, so when we get into timers and things like that, all that stuff we're going to be coming back to in that particular section, because realistically, the way that it's working nowadays, with the way that at least all the vendors that I'm following, Internetwork Expert is the primary one, they're breaking it up, and I find that's actually much easier for me to digest the material. Is if they break it up into smaller chunks for like getting the core EIGRP running. So everything you need to do for forming adjacencies, for doing your summarization and your query scoping and your authentication, all the core stuff I've pretty much already done with. So that's pretty much taking the CCNP level material that I've done in the past and taking it a few steps farther. The reconversion stuff is going to be more in depth because we're going to be messing with timers. We're going to be I'm going to go through a pretty heavy section in the dual algorithm, so you can actually, and I believe I've actually got it pulled up here. If you go to like router 4, I think I'm show IP protocols. Am I? Yeah. If you debug EIGRP, you can actually debug the dual finite state machine, FSM, and you can go in there and you can actually watch how dual runs through its path selection process. So during the process of going through the reconversions and stuff like that, we'll be going through these and going through it to understand exactly what it is EIGRP is doing. So you can pick apart how the protocol actually does its job from behind the scenes. That's one of the major things that we're going to be looking at In addition to that, I'm currently, like I said, I'm currently going through OSPF right now. So, and everything I'm doing for right now is IPv4 related. I haven't touched IPv6 yet. I'll be coming back and I'll be doing some introductory stuff later on when it comes to IPv6, especially the addressing aspects of it. So, like your link local scope, your EUI64, things like that. The global aggregatable addressing, things that are specific to the way that IPv6 works as a protocol without being attached to a protocol or to a dynamic routing protocol. And then we're going to circle back and we'll look at protocol-specific stuff. So we'll look at RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, BGP with multi-protocol BGP, and go from there. So on the reconversion side of the house, a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about is going to be like with BFD for bidirectional forwarding detection, and going over that. We're also going to be looking at some other things in regards to IP fast reroute for an OSPF loop-free alternate, and a BGP PIC edge and PIC core, which is protocol independent convergence. We're going to be taking a look at that. But those are going to be coming later on once we get done with the core IGPs and BGP. So basically, the game plan sits right now. I'm going to finish up the core EIGRP. And then what you can expect is once that's done and I feel like I've covered it to the detail I need to cover it right now, then I will upload. And once I do that, then I will go over OSPF. And I will go from the core all the way through some of the more advanced optimization. So basically anything to get OSPF up and running and stable. So adding it in, getting routing working. So we'll take a look at this the SPF algorithm. We'll take a look at that and all of the specifics to that, media dependencies, network types, different types of areas, redistribution, authentication, and then how you can use different area types to choose the best path in the network based on different area selection types and things like that. Once we get through that, then we'll go into BGP. And BGP is going to be a very large not BGP. Then I'm going to look at, once this is done, so EIGRP core and OSPF core, then we're going to look at DMVPN. And then once we get through DMVPN, there's going to be quite a few videos on DMVPN because of how complex it can be. So we'll look at DMVPN from the basic level, and then we'll look into phase 1, 2, and 3, and see the different things you can do over phase 2 and phase 3. And then we're going to get into redistribution. And there's a couple of different cases that we're going to look at from that. So we'll talk about how redistribution works, and once we get through that, then we'll get into BGP. BGP is going to be a pretty wide topic scope because of how complex it can be, and the details that you need to know about how the path selection works, and understanding how the control plane works, how the control plane operates, the data plane forwarding, and some of the enhancements you can do with like confederations and route reflection, and then the path selection process, and then doing route manipulation with the different path vector attributes. And then once we get through that, then it's going to get, once we get through BGP, then we're going to get into reconversions is where we're going to head to after that. And you can be expecting this. This will probably, EIGRP probably within the next week. So probably mid-July. And then OSPF core, I'm going to say beginning of August, first week of August. So just to give you guys an idea of where I'm at, first week of August. And once we get through that, DMVPN, I'm thinking probably mid-August. and then redistribution probably 3rd to 4th week of August. And then we're going to have BGP, I'm going to say probably another 2 weeks after that. So, beginning of September. And the reason why it's taking me so long is, one, I work a full-time day job, and I'm also, about that time, I'll be heading back to school part-time. I'll be taking a couple of classes this semester coming up in the spring, or I'm sorry, the fall. And that'll be pretty much where we get into BGP. After that, it's pretty much anybody's game. But the material you see here covered, so all of this right here, this needs to be covered before we get into MPLS. This needs to be covered before we get into multicast. Any of the advanced topics that you'll see in the beyond that, because the majority of the exam is going to be EIGRP, OSPF, DMVPN, redistribution, BGP, and MPLS. So that's going to be the bulk of that. And then once we get through MPLS, because in my opinion that's going to be one of the sticking points, is once you get through MPLS, or it's still in the air now. I'm not saying that it'll be BGP, then we jump into MPLS. That's the most logical move. But I might actually do IPv6 then for all of this up here, and then move to MPLS. Because then you can run MPLS or IPv6 over MPLS with 6PE and 6VPE and things like that. And then from there, it makes sense to go into multicast. And then the security and some other features. Because security and services and things like that, those are just going to be optimizations and enhancements and services that ride on top of the network that's already working. So, in my opinion, if you can't get EIGRP and OSPF up and running and converged and working correctly, who gives a crap about security? Who gives a crap about DHCP? So if you won't be able to get DHCP to traverse the network if OSPF layer 2 or layer 3 routing isn't working. And then one of the things that I'm also going to cover, because I have the 7200 series routers, I'm going to do as much layer 2 VPN stuff as I can. So that'll be including VPLS, that'll be including MPLS, L2 VPN, and any transport over MPLS and things like that. We'll be taking a look at those, and where'd my thing go? L2TPv3, things like that. Anything that I can run on that, I will if I can. So I'm going to be pulling a lot of stuff from the service provider track into the route switch track, so you guys have an idea of what to expect in the upcoming videos. Now, and remember, this is a CCIE level course. Okay, so it's not going to be like the CCNP or the CCNA material that I've released in the past, to where I'm only recording, routing or route for 2 weeks. That was my game plan for each section of the CCNP exams, was 2 weeks to cover everything. Because that was about the time that I spent studying for the exam, and then went out and knocked the exam out. So this is CCA level preparation. So I'm taking the extra time to go through the material the correct way, doing the extra reading, doing the extra video watching, making sure I'm taking the right notes so that I could take what I'm learning and pass it on to you guys. And remember, I'm not getting paid for any of this. So all this material that I'm kicking out here is me going through a bunch of labs, because of the fact that I'm already going through the labs. To me it makes sense to take those and upload them to YouTube. So I do reference the sources where I get the information from. So if you're not familiar with Internetwork Expert, I suggest you go check these guys out. I'll give a shout to Brian McGann. He's the guy that's teaching me what I know. And I have to tell you that from going from version 4 of the CCA routing and switching lab exam to version 5 of lab and the written, I should say, he has completely rewritten the version 5 to Advanced Technologies class for INE, and it's being completely redone. And in my opinion, it's completely surpassing any of my expectations from what I had foreseen for version 4. I had watched version 4 ATC probably a half a dozen times in the past year, and going back through different sections as I progressed through CCNP, and now that I'm working on my CCA written exam. So a lot of the stuff that he's going through now it's beyond the detail that I was expecting to get. So I'm sitting there, I'm having to go over a video 2-3 times, so I'll pull all the applicable information that I think is going to be noteworthy for you all. So I'm hoping that this actually spawns into something greater than just me doing this in my free time. So if it turns into a side job of training, great, more power to me. But ultimately, this is to help me advance my skills in the realm of networking, and one, pass the lab exam and the written, obviously, because I have the written scheduled for the end of this month. I don't know if I'm going to take the written in the end of July. I might push it back to the middle of August, depending on how long I&E is taking to get their material out, because I'm actually going through their Advanced Technologies class now, taking the notes I need to, so that when I go take the written exam, I'm pretty much going to the written exam and saying, okay, there's nothing you can possibly throw at me that I don't already know how to do. And, basically go in there, knock the exam out, and I could care less about a perfect score. As long as it's a pass, that's all I give a crap about. I don't need a 993 to pass the test to feel great about myself. A pass is a pass as far as I'm concerned. So, and that's one of the things that I'm I'm not a big fan of brain dumps. So, that's one of the things that, if that's one of the things you use to validate your skills with, I'm not going to point the finger and say that's not a good way to train, but my personal way of validating my skills is go take the test. And I'm on a LinkedIn group, I forget what it is, CCNA Lab Simulation Group, I think is what it's called, where there's actually a gentleman that made a comment about him passing the CCNA 200-120 exam with a perfect 1,000 out of 1,000 score. That's great. I scrolled through all the comments, and most of them were, way off topic and whatnot, but I was like, you know what, you're missing the point. It doesn't really matter what you get on the exam. It really doesn't. You could pass a dead on whatever the minimum passing score is. So I think when I took the CCNA security exam, it was 825. I got like a 930 on it, so it wasn't a perfect score, but I was able to validate my skills enough to say that I know how VPNs work, I know how ASAs operate, things like that. So you take that in consideration. I could talk to you all day long, and you may not even have a certification. As long as you know the technology, that's all that really makes a difference. So, I don't mean to harp on the people that have taken brain dumps or anything. If that's what you do, more power to you. But me, I personally don't like using them. I'll go take the test 2-3 times, and then hopefully I pass. But I don't want to be able to. I want to be able to look at the written exam blueprint and look at it and go, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is. And if like my wife was to ask me, hey, do you know what Ceph polarization is? And a way to potentially avoid it, I can go, absolutely. And this is exactly what Ceph polarization is, and have her Google it. And if my explanation is close to what she's reading, then you're pretty much spot on. So I'm not saying that's the best way to validate your skills, but that's just the way I do things. And another thing that I wanted to cover with you real quick is my approach to actually studying. So I've covered this a few times in the past, but let me scroll down just a bit here so you guys have an idea of where I'm coming from. I have a 4-step approach. So step 1, I learn what the technology is. So one of the things that I do out of the gate for every technology I learn, and this goes specific to a feature inside of a technology. So for instance, like stub areas and learning what a leak map is inside of a stub. So I want to drill down to that level. So what I'll do is, the who, the what, the why, the when, and then the where. If I can answer these 5 questions to a basic level to somebody that doesn't know what stub leak maps are in EIGRP, then what is it? Why would you use it? When would you use it? Where would you use it? And well, who is kind of wherever you can pop it in there. But if you can answer specifically these 4 questions, that's going to be one of those things that it's going to come into play. And now the who is more specific to the customer, so it might be like, well, who would use this? Well, it could be an ISP, it could be a small business, it could be depending on the application of the technology will kind of answer the who. But the what is it? Why would you use it? When would you use it? Where would you use it? And stuff like that. But that's the main thing. But step 1 is going to getting a basic understanding of. So let's say basic understanding. So you can you could Google OSPF loop-free alternate. So it's basically a feasible successor for OSPF. So if you don't know what that is, then obviously you step past 1. Step 2 is to get a basic CLI understanding of it. And if you can do that and configure it without having to reference anything, then you have a solid understanding of the theory and a solid understanding of the basic implementation. So step 3 is going to take that to the next level. So what you're going to do from step 3 is you're going to learn every piece of that technology. So you're going to look at basically the configuration guide, and you're going to look through, and maybe let's say that OSPF LFA has 5 different pieces to it. I don't really know off the top of my head. I'm just guessing here. It has 5 different pieces to it. Your job at that point is to know what those 5 pieces are, be able to answer these 5 questions, these 4 questions for every piece. So 1 through 5 of that. If you can do that, and then that means you have a advanced level of understanding, and therefore you're going to be working on step 3, which is going to be a advanced understanding, and that's supposed to be a U understanding. And then at that point, the step 4 is kind of self-explanatory. This is going to be an advanced ADV CLI implementation. So now at this part, you should be able to configure from a basic implementation and all the advanced pieces to it. And then if you need to do anything specific with inside of that technology, again, you go back to step 1 and say, okay, I need there's a new feature. Okay, what is it? And step 2, configure it. Step 3, learn the advanced pieces to it. Step 4, do advanced CLI configuration of it. So in the advanced CLI configuration up to it isn't just the config. If you can configure, it's great. You can config T router OSPF1. Great. You know how to turn OSPF on. Do you know how to verify that? If you don't know how to verify what you configured, that's going to be something you're definitely going to want to know how to do. So verify it. The only time you have to T-shoot something is if your configuration is wrong based on your verification of what you just configured. So if you can go to verify that a neighbor adjacency came up and you're noticing that there's a queue count inside your EIGRP adjacency, that means there's something wrong with your initial configuration. So that means you have to go down to your troubleshooting steps and go, okay, what are the necessary steps to get that particular technology to work? So once you've done that, then you're pretty much you're good to go. So your troubleshooting only comes in if your verification of your original configuration is bad, wrong, or incorrect. So that's one of those things where you need to be pretty diligent about your verification. So there's actually a gentleman on the IEOC, which is INE's online community, IEOC, and I didn't ask for his permission to mention his handle on the IEOC, so I'm not going to mention that. But if you were to Google it and check it out, the gentleman basically says that when you're going through your technology or through your learning phase of the technology, and you're going through the CLI inputs so you can understand it better, from maybe the theory side of it is hard to understand, but it makes sense once you implement it. The idea behind the verification and troubleshooting is how many different you want to use the least amount of show commands and debug commands to figure out what's wrong. So if you can troubleshoot a problem within 5 show commands, then you know, based on what you're seeing from maybe a troubleshooting ticket, that you can zero in on a problem in 5 commands. Those 5 commands might take you a minute to input and make sense of what's going on. That minute, the faster you can diagnose what the problem is and form a potential solution for the issue, the faster you're going to be at troubleshooting. And that's where it comes into play, is if you know how it's implemented and you know how to verify it, then troubleshooting kind of comes into play with that, to where if your verification shows that the configuration is wrong, that's when you start troubleshooting. So we're going to talk more about that in detail, and one of the things that I like doing is at the very end of each section, so EIGRP, OSPF, DMVPN, I'm going to institute little issues that we've talked about throughout the entire section. So EIGRP, when we get done with the core, I'll work on, institute a couple of issues, and I'll walk you through a couple of the different ways you can troubleshoot those issues, so that when you get to the troubleshooting section of the lab exam, you're not going, oh, I've never seen that before. And that's one of the main reasons why I do the videos that I do, because I'm implementing something and I don't realize I'm doing something wrong, and I spend 20 minutes trying to troubleshoot it, and then the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, well, you know, if I would have known that 20 minutes ago, I would have saved all that time. Then what I'll do is I'll actually stop the video, and I'll re-record it, and I'll take that same issue that I ran into, I'll implement it, and I'll show you what I ran into. It's okay, if you run into this problem, this is probably what you did wrong, and this is how you would fix it. So that you will, from a learning perspective, you'll see the issue and you'll be able to make a issue to resolution mapping, so that the next time you see that problem, you're going to be able to quickly go, okay, well, it's probably this is the issue. So that's the idea behind that. So that's pretty much what I wanted to go over with you. Again, this is definitely a thanks for watching type video. I'll let you know what I see going on in my preparation, and it's going pretty strong. Every day I'm going at it. 6-7 days a week. Obviously more on the weekends than during the week, but it is what it is when you're working a full-time job. And I've got 2 little kids at home that want to spend time with Dad, and got to keep the wife happy and be around. So that's pretty much what I want to talk about in this video. I hope this has been informative for you. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and if you're interested, subscribe, comment. Oh, and my email address, in case you are interested in reaching me, let me just clear this off real quick, is do this. My email address, for anybody that's interested, is, let me get to a bigger pen, is going to be RRIKER82 at yahoo.com. That's the best way to get a hold of me. And again, I'd like to thank you everybody for watching. Definitely subscribe if you are interested in learning more. I have a full lineup coming of stuff like that that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks to month and a half to end of the year. You never know how long it might take me. So, again, thanks for watching. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'll see you in the next video.